Oh, you're gonna love this.
Hey, welcome to the Magden PvP build right before update 33. We won't waste any time and we'll get right into it. Now, so far as the sets that we're using 2 meta sets, actually kind of 3 meta sets, but we'll go over those in just a bit. Let's go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, we are running Magma Incarnate. Now none of these traits are, where they need to be, but we'll go ahead and fix them at some point in time. So you have the Magma Incarnate Heavy Helmet, Medium Shoulders, and what Magma Incarnate does is when you heal yourself, you essentially can give Minor Courage and Resolve to a couple other group members that have bounce around a few times, and you guys can pause here and read the tooltip if you need to. It just helps out with group play, it helps out with single play. It's just possibly one of the strongest sets in the game. Any flex spots for these would be either Balorgs or Bloodspawn. You have Marking Ring of Majesty. You wear essentially 2 sets. It's a free 200 armor and 200 weapon and spell damage and 2300 armor. You have the Gallant Chain. This is pretty much the trainee chest. We run it reinforced because it gives you the highest armor value. You get maximum health. You get a lot of max health from that. For our back bar set, we're running Olorime. We have the Restoration Staff on the back bar, ring, and a necklace infused. And then a sash. This should be either impenetrable or well fitted, most likely well fitted. But we'll go ahead and get that whenever we get the traits correct on this as well. And then for the set that works really good with Magden, nobody's running right now, is Icy Conjurer. Now what Icy Conjurer does for us is it gives us what Magden is missing, and that's finishing power. Well, how, Rec? Well, Rec, how does it give us finishing power? You get a lot of dot pressure from using Fetcher Flies in combination with this. This ticks anywhere between, on a squishy target, it ticks for about 4k a tick, and I'm talking between the 2 dots. On a tanky target, you get about, I'd say, a 24 to 2500k tick per second. It's absolutely ridiculous. Works best on Magden because of our passives, and we'll go over those passives in just a bit. But let's go ahead and take a look at the abilities that we're using right now. For the abilities that we're using, start off with Arterial Burst. Arterial Burst is possibly one of the best spammables in the game for any melee magic kind of class. So Nightblades use it. I mean, Mag BKs don't really need it. Neither do Templars, but it works very well with Magdens because not many spammables work well with us. We have a dive, but that does next to nothing for us but set them off balance and have our opponent laugh at us while they dodge things that they can see. We have Deep Fissure. Deep Fissure, this tooltip can get up to about 21 to 22k when we're fully buffed with Olorime and all the other buffs like continuous, things like that. We have Minor Berserk on Bird of Prey. That's our speed boost as well. Helps us get out of situations as well as set up our bursts. We use Minor Berserk in combination with Minor Vulnerability on Fetcher Infection. Fetcher Infection is one of the best dots in the game, especially if you cast it twice. This 1500 tooltip can be around 20 to 21k tooltip, and you can cast it twice, and that tooltip shoots to about 30k. So this is hands down when cast on the second cast, the hardest ticking dot in the game, next to Icy Conjurer, because Icy Conjurer actually outperforms this. And then we have Arctic Blast. Arctic Blast to Magdens is like whip to DKs and jabs or bubble to Magplars. It's extremely important. Although it has been nerfed, it does give us a little bit of dot pressure like a very small amount of bit of dot pressure. It gives us a little bit of health, but the most, what we use this mostly for is the stun setups. The stun setups when you're on top of somebody are extremely random, or at least they seem random to your opponent, but you know how to count 1, 2, 3, and you can set up some pretty nasty burst combos with this. We essentially use this entire front bar to set up our Dawnbreaker. Dawnbreaker is one of the, if not the hardest ticking dot in the game. The reason being is because you can get this tooltip for Dawnbreaker, I'd say well above 24, 25k, and it goes over 6 seconds. And you get a stun out of it. And you get the initial physical damage out of it. And one of the things that why I would say all the high-end PvPers don't run Magden is because Magden does not have any finishing power. Magden doesn't have an execute. Magnum doesn't have serious burst damage until now. But Magden has been pretty much put on the shelf and by the wayside by the PvP community. I'm pretty much the only one running it, and I ran it enough to find something that actually works. And Dawnbreaker is one of the most important abilities because it helps you set up some pretty nasty bursts. And I'll show you guys a small clip right before we get into the actual video. Now on the back bar, you got Blue Betty, of course. Everybody knows what that does. Removes a negative effect, gives you Magicka regen over 25 seconds. Ice Fortress, that's your minor protection and your major resolve. Rapid regeneration. Rapid regeneration over the other morph that spreads to 3 other people. Reason being is because Magden has some serious issues with healing since the Arctic Blast nerf. Arctic Blast was actually doing as much healing as the healing ability Budding Seeds, but we'll go over that in just a second. We also have Elusive Miss. Elusive Miss, you want to be in Vamp Stage 3 to make best use out of this. You get all of your spell damage from Vamp Stage 3. You get pretty much freedom of movement from this ability. You can cut around corners. You get a massive defense when you get a lot of people pumping damage into you. And you know, if you have things like stealth detect pots or things like that, you can avoid some pretty nasty Nightblade burst that comes in if you time it right. And of course, what makes this entire build work, because of how all the remake works, is Budding Seeds. Now, Budding Seeds is possibly one of the best burst heals in the game. Unfortunately, you do have to cast it twice for it to bloom, but it actually cuts around corners, so you can do some pretty sweet moves when it comes to sustaining your health through Rapid Regeneration, Budding Seeds, and Arctic Blast. And then you just allow this to go off after 6 seconds. It gives you that burst heal, and you don't have to waste the extra global while you're casting other abilities trying to survive. And then you have Life Giver. Life Giver, this can be a flex spot. You can use Life Giver, you can use Healing Thicket, or you can use Northern Storm. Whichever one that you feel is best for you. I like Life Giver because it gives minor resolve. So it gives you the extra, you know, buff, especially if your monster set is not up, because that also gives minor resolve. And it allows you to heal a lot. I mean, you pretty much can't die with like 5, 6, 7 people on you. You're not gonna die when that particular ability pops. So now let's take a look at the some of the passives that we are making use of. Of course, you want to grab all of your class passives, no matter what. All of them, no matter what. One of the best passives that we make use of is the follow-up passive from the 2-hand tree. We have follow-up. Most of our damage comes from full heavy cancels into a ability. So that ability is going to be either Arterial Burst or Dawnbreaker. It goes off of direct damage, so Arterial Burst and Dawnbreaker. even deep fissure in some rare cases, but you'll want to weave your full heavies with arterial burst and your full heavies into dawn breakers. And now again, I'll show you some pretty nasty bursts on a couple people when it comes to setting up that combo. Also, forceful actually is extremely important in this. When you're fighting multiple people in your light attack weaving, you're essentially clipping multiple people at the same time. I know it's a small amount of damage, but all damage counts when you are fighting outnumbered. And heavy weapons. Heavy weapons, that mace line that you see at the bottom there, maces increase your armor penetration by 3,300. We are at about 12.5 before we apply any debuffs. And our debuffs are going to be, of course, Major Breach from Deep Fissure and Minor Breach from Absorbed Stamina. So we get well over, I would say well over 20k, closer to about 21k penetration when we're pumping damage into somebody. So this is pretty good for the damage setups and everything like that. And let's go ahead and show you, before we get into the CP, how to set up damage. I'll show you here, and then we're going to take a look at a small clip where I do a burst rotation on a live target, you know, in PvP. So, your general rotation on how to maximize your damage. Get your buffs in. You want to be in combat, step in here. Use your elusive miss to get the extra damage. And then make sure you apply your Fetcher Infection for the additional 5% damage done. Now you see those ticks? Those are just with basic damage done. Let's try that again. About 5,700. If you have the continuous buff up, it's about 6,500 weapon damage that you get. In some cases, if you have other people around you, you can get up to 7k weapon damage, which you'll see in the video here pretty soon. All right. Oh yeah. Before we go into that, take a look at the rest of the passives. Of course, you want all your, armor, medium passives, light passives, heavy passives. You want your vampire passives, of course. Undeath is extremely important. That's why we do Vamp Stage 3. And Vamp Stage 2 is the thing that gives us the additional 300 spell damage when we come out of Mist form. And that's 300 weapon and spell damage every time we do that. That's why we flick the Mist form right before we go into our burst combo so we can maximize our damage. Of course, you want your assault, all that good stuff. My race right now is a high elf. You can either go high elf, you can go Breton, you can go Nord. A lot of people bypass Nord. Nord is actually pretty good for this setup as well, just for survivability sake. But yeah. And then of course, make sure you have your medicinal use alchemy passive. Helps you survive a lot. All right, let's take a look at the CP. All right. Now, let's go in the green tree first. It's the least important, but I do want to make a note to everybody. Get Breakfall. Breakfall actually helps when kiting, especially if you're going from high level to low level. Jumping off of stuff, let's say you miss something and people follow you while you're being chased, you're going to take 35% reduced damage when you do so. Make sure you get Breakfall. It's extremely important if you didn't know about it. All right. And then so far as our blue tree, we have Ironclad, which is located here. Ironclad, make sure you get all the passives here. Hardy, Preparation, Elemental Aegis. Over here, make sure you just get Blessed. In the Extended Might, make sure you fill out this entire area here because you make use of weapon, you make use of magical and martial damage in this build. And then Deadly Aim up here, Biting Aura, Master at Arms. Now we're running a dot build, right? Why not run Thaumaturge? Well, the reason why we don't run Thaumaturge is we have Deadly Aim and Master at Arms that are both combining to increase these abilities here. Arterial Burst, Veteran Infection, Dawnbreaker of Smiting, Deep Fissure, and Icy Conjurer. The single target damage is extremely important for Icy Conjurer as it buffs that tooltip. If we're looking at a tooltip, right? If we want to buff up all the way, look at the tooltip. 23,565 over 10 seconds, right? That goes to about 25k when you're fully buffed, fully buffed. And let's look at it again. For Veteran Infection, 18k. It's about 21k when it's fully buffed, and you get the 50% if you cast it twice. And let's look at Dawnbreaker of Smiting. Dawnbreaker of Smiting, the initial hit is 20k, and you get 22.6k over 6 seconds. That goes to about 26 to 27k when you're fully buffed. These dots hit extremely hard. When you do the entire setup, the dots hit for about 6 to 8k a tick, and that's where your finishing power comes from. Magden has extremely large issues with finishing power. That's why you don't see many top tier PvPers using them. But yeah, we cracked the code, guys. We cracked the code. We found something. Let's go ahead and switch to the whole combination piece, and I'll show you exactly how you set up the one-shots. Here we see this fine gentleman doing some PvP against some guards. He stuns us. That means it's go time. Go ahead, heal up, buff up, set up both of our Veteran Infections, set up our damage, get the stun, Dawnbreaker, good fight, good night. And that about wraps it up. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe for more ESO content. Let me know if you would change anything. Other than that, thanks for watching.